Yeah, people, I'm back. And I'm looking to have a great show, and hopefully you are going to have a great day. As I like to remind everybody that I'm going to continue to run these shows, all the way to Judgment Day, into the end of days, as I tend to say. And, with that being said, you know, you're going to need a lot of motivation, a lot of coffee, a lot of cannabis to get there, and maybe even a little bit of that sweet bourbon, Neapolitans, tequila, and whatever's available, to continue to, conduct these shows here. This content that people question, is it content? I say that, any sit down and conversation is content. I've even seen people go so far as to say, they're taking off their socks and their sneakers after jogging is content. I mean, whatever. To each his own. I mean, there's people that just stand there and watch people eating all sorts of mukbangs. Yum, 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 yum. Delicious. I don't know. The internet is just a crazy beast that way. And, I had to sit down for a second and, just think about, keeping the energy going, keeping the motivation going, because sometimes, when you deal with things, the stresses, the responsibilities, some of the things you don't expect, it's not that you don't get through them, it's how you get over them, though, because sometimes you wear and tear, you do too much. You put yourself in a situation where you're just dealing with a lot of emotional wreckage. And then it just becomes a point where even when you do deal with it to a degree, but to what degree do you actually deal with it? It takes its toll on you. It takes its emotional toll on you. And sometimes, after weeks and months and, so on, after a while, anything can wear and tear on somebody eventually. So sometimes you need a way to cope, regroup, and get back to a place where you can deal with these things better. And now with the social media, moving forward and people randomly just stopping me and having these discussions and everything else, they just throw their opinions. I don't have an issue with that. I love talking to the people. I actually get better conversations out of people I don't even know than the people I do know, because these people tend to question everything that I do. Why is he making videos? Where's the content? What is this? You want somebody to Google talk the shit out of you. Wikipedia the fuck out of you. Go to Joe Rogan's show. I'm sure he'll sit there and yell at Jamie, Google it, motherfucker, Google it. Like he's done to several past guests on his show. If I ever get to the point where I am doing these interviews, I don't think that I would do that. I don't think that I would do that to the people that would take the time to sit down with me on this show. I'd like to think that I conduct myself a little bit better than that. The 15 questions of doom, possibly enjoying some variations of cannabis, coffees, and conversation, and, having, a great time. And that's pretty much what we like to do. When I was not feeling my best and I was near death a few times, what was it? I'm trying to remember the name of the podcast that I used to listen to all the time. It's these three dudes. I'm trying to remember. Why can't I'm struggling here. I don't know if it's it's making me struggle. It's something, the Death Something podcast. I'm trying to remember. I'm struggling. When I remember, I'll give them a proper cheap pop on the show. But anyway, they got me through some of the tough times, the hilarious times and everything else. And the only reason I'm struggling to remember them right now is because obviously I really haven't been listening to anybody. I've just been doing my own thing. I've been trying to do my own body of work. I'm not trying to follow anybody's stylings or, steal anybody's, full routine. I mean, we may take a slogan, may take a catchphrase. But we talked about running those slogans, running those logos, and that's pretty much what we do here. They're talking about this Stella alert here. I'm sorry, I was getting alerted, while I was talking. It kind of threw me off, But trying to just maintain good online productivity, trying to bring up the work, the number of videos on this page, and again, I do expect critiques. I do expect people to just be like, what the fuck is going on here? Because they don't get it yet. They're not ahead of the curve. They haven't fully been introduced to the cold Uncle Bobby, introduced properly. I apologize. These two dogs tend to want to fight. And remind you that from the morning, afternoon, and whenever we catch you, it is fight night. I was looking to do some wrestling for the Uncle Bobby experience. I'm currently having issues with the Wi-Fi on the other side of the house, so I'm like, I don't know what the hell to do with that. I got to troubleshoot and do all this stuff, and it's not working. I'm not going to go and move furniture to unplug this thing and then replug it, and I don't have time for that. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going into, the story of why I like to do this, but I'm just letting you know why some of the other shows are slowing down, because I got so many shows I'm working on, so many things I'm doing right now. So the point is, when I wasn't feeling great, I didn't think I was going to make it. I found this podcast show about wrestling, and they went over stuff, and I found it hilarious, and it boosted me back to feeling like, not only was it bringing me, humorous joy, but it was inspiring me to get into this field over here. That was the beginning of like, I want to do something like this. So I started my first show doing that. We got canceled. We went over this, but coming back now is like, everything has been a learning lesson. When there's always something you got to learn every time. Every time you do something, for better or worse. Like marriage, for better or worse. Sorry, people. Excuse me. You just try to make this work, try to make this marriage, try to make this connection over here. When we talk about bringing one slice of bread and another slice of bread coming together like a sandwich, hopefully you're taking a big bite out of my sandwich. Hopefully you're practicing your mukbang noises while you do it. Yum, yum, yum. Delicious. Yes, I like to think that I am a nutritious food for thought, and we looking to be the only food for thought here, continuously running this Adult Time Talk program and the Adult Time Talk. And right now we're talking about keeping the energy going, keeping the, keeping up with the whole thing, and keeping the inspiration going. Really, because sometimes you get zapped or sapped. That's the word properly used. Anyway, you lose a lot of your energies. You lose a lot of your, sanities. No, but really, once you work to a certain point and you're putting in a certain amount of degree and you're just going in on this, full-fledged going in, sometimes you're going to meet different obstacles, not just within the realm of what you're doing, but then in your normal life outside of that. And then the combination of everything and maneuvering and everything else, it tends to take its toll on you when you don't have, a place to vent this sort of situation out, or an avenue, if you will. And hopefully, we're going to have this avenue here, because again, I'd like to remind everybody that I'm just like you. I'm just a regular man just trying to make it. And I'm not going to say like the Island Boys, because again, I don't have anything to do with those two weirdos, those two freaks. But, again, when I talk about being an average individual, we still looking for a different kind of audience. People that don't put too much value in all this conversation to a degree, but then to a degree, they like to put value in the conversation, if you will. It depends on which way you want to put in the weight of the stock, or the lack thereof. And sometimes I wonder if people are just going with some of this stuff because of Stockholm Syndrome, with those nearly 3-4 years staying stuck home, losing your minds, losing your values. We're not going to go into the COVID thing, but I'm just saying, I think that all that had a lot to do with it. Sitting at home, being around people that, even though you love them, they got sick. They became sickening, just the smell of them. Just them breathing the same air, you'd be like, I used to love these people, but now I want to kill them. But you can't say that, because you can't get on the internet and just say whatever you want. But then I think that that's probably the way they broke people's minds, spirits, And then a lot of people stopped watching TV and focused on the phones. And the phones, man, they were just doing tons of stuff. They're still doing it. The psyops, the operations, the mental manipulation, the mental abuse that people just love. They'll come back for it. It's almost domestic, but on the phone. I don't know how that's possible, but they managed to do it because Meta knows how to read you better. And if you don't believe that, then I don't care what you believe in. You can believe in several different, variations of origin of life and talk about Scientology and Inu and the genetic strands and the DNA and the RNA manipulation of people. I mean, they talk about the manipulation of, your genetics, your mutations, just eating Skittles. And I love those fucking things. I even did a Skittles ad. I didn't get paid, but I was there. I'm trying to tell them, fuck with your uncle, fuck with your boy here. We're striving to be, the number one, leaving everybody prairie dog get a huge number two. But, I don't want to get lost off the conversation because then people would tell me I treaded way too far. But, again, that brings me to an idea after I get off this subject. With the inspiration staying, grafted to what you want to do and staying true to yourself. And, I believe that would get the real audience, the real fans, the number ones, the true superstars, the people that make and break all of us. And I would like to also add that, with that thought, do you worry about catering to the audience? And, what audience are you catering to? I was thinking to myself, I'm not going to try to change everything that I'm doing, or the way that I'm doing it for one person's particular taste or, one person's particular opinion, because again, everybody has opinions. They're going to tell me all the time, that your new show is never going to be as good as your old show. And I like to tell those people, Dennis Leary has a song called Assholes, and maybe that song is about you. Maybe. But I don't mind the opinions of the people. We ask for the comments. We tell people all the time to comment on these shows. We want to know, what do you want to know? What do you think about these shows? Because the algorithm is slowly taking your options away from you and possibly even, dehumanization of your views and your values. Does it even matter what you think anymore? We want to know, do you think your opinion matters? Because I hit you with the Shia LaBeouf rant that I put myself in a space where I just don't give a shit and your opinions don't fucking matter. But we want to know in the comments, do you think your opinions matter? Because really, I do think that your opinions matter as far as these platforms are concerned, as far as the growth of a channel or a creator in this content, but I don't know. Do you think it matters anymore? Do you get any of my videos on your feeds? Do you see me and just say, fuck this fucking guy over here, this fat, formerly white back bitch over here. I'm just going to pack this motherfucker up and just scroll by. Because that's just what happens sometimes. And you can't even take that personal. As I'm looking to pick up the statistics of the data and the numbers of people sitting in, watching these shows, all the way through, picking up the numbers, trying to get into at least a good, 75% overall. I did get that, about a month ago. And then things went crazy. I don't know if I took advantage of the algorithm or something, or if I, found some magic, but I'm looking to continue that magic. I'm looking to continue that journey. Hopefully you're going to be able when we do that, because again, I'm taking this all over the place. I'm on Facebook, obviously YouTube, TikTok, and Spotify. I'm everywhere. I'm looking to be omnipresent. I'm looking to be omnipotent. And maybe even one day, POTUS. President-elect Uncle Bobby. Who knows? Because, once you do that, once you throw your hat in the bounty, they say you got to watch out for everything you do. Because they'll come after you for everything you do and say. So you just can't be running around telling people, you're gay now and you're homo. Because, again, you got to say no homo, but you're gay now. Oh, no. Sorry, people. I need to like this mother. Ooh. Hopefully you're getting lit this morning. Hopefully you are getting ready to tackle your week, or, near mid end of the week, because, today is hump day, people. I forgot. Today's hump day. The day they say that people, tend to have the most sex. Or possibly just masturbate the most. Ladies playing with your beads. You men playing with your penis. I don't know what you do in your bedrooms, but the statistics tend to say otherwise. As the numbers, tend to just show all sorts of interesting figures. And we're going to get to that somewhere down the road. But right now, I'm just talking about staying inspired to continue to do this content. And do you do the content to please just the some, the few? But I'm looking to just target everybody. I'm looking to hit all the demographics. When we talk about 21s to the 25s, when it's 25s to the 30s, 35 to the 40s, for the 45s to beyond, because we want everybody to come together. I don't care if you're a man, woman, trans, non-binary. As we remind everybody to love your body, all bodies. And especially to love your body too, because apparently this country wants to body shame you. Just body shaming the shit out of everybody. Chris Jericho got body shamed recently. I forgot what his comparison was. It was a fucking hilarious comparison to his body. But again, they body shamed him. They body shamed Paul Levesque. Cardi B body shamed some fat people that she didn't get to get a picture of. But we don't know those people. But apparently it doesn't matter. It just seemed to be obese people. We talked about the fat phobia. We talked about the internet push, but it's funny. As much as they do all these things, I find that they don't cancel anybody for that. Billie Eilish was running around talking about how you give ugly men a chance and they think they own the world. But then you give ugly women a chance and then they start thinking they just shit. You see, this is a positive imaging thing right now, and it's ego-based at times and all that stuff. But, that's social media for you. Not too media social. Not too media friendly, nor social at all, really. Not making a real connection. Not looking to make the connectivity that I'm looking to make with you. But that's just life. What can you do about that? As the reality of all these outlooks and trends set in. And you wonder why people aren't having real poignant, lifelong, foundations. Because everything is vanity. Everything is ego-based. Most women now, they run around and their content is about their body. Then they don't want you to lust over it. Oh my God. Are you whacking off to my photos and videos of me showing my body and my chocolate tacos and everything else? And they're like, oh, maybe I was. Maybe I'm guilty of it. No. But then they want to get mad that you objectify. I'm mad the media and the public objectify my body. Because but what was you selling? What was the objective? What were you really pitching for the people to want? And did that give you an issue with continuing to be inspired? And if so, were you focusing on, those some complaints? You don't show enough labias. You don't show enough nippies. The puppies. You don't show enough penis. Penis! Because everybody wants something. Whether the women or the men, or, the men that are women and the women that are men. Or the man baby or the baby the size of a grown man, for all I know. But no, really, though. I'm just thinking about the way that, sometimes people get caught up worrying about what people want, really. Oh, no. One of these, subscribers is telling me I don't know how to conduct my business. They listened to a whole episode and they said, where's the content? What's the content? And then I'm like, I don't know where's the content. You must be blind, deaf, and forms of other things that I'm not going to get into right now. Because again, I'm trying to just relax today. I'm not trying to take it too far. I'm not trying to go out there, and endorse that space ice cream sandwich that's also an edible that'll possibly take me to Mars, dude. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to talk about the sandwich. The sandwich that they say you never made it famous, you get a sandwich made of your name, and I like to think that fine folks on Spotify. They're going around the world here. Poland, Thailand, Canada, Mexico, France, Argentina, Peru, Australia, Puerto Rico, Italy, and anywhere that you can, find YouTube. I like to think that, Uncle Bobby, the Remember Me podcast, can be a part of your adult time talk conversation as we continue to break down the translations, as we continue to break down the barriers, the walls, the ceilings, possibly my thumb. No, but, I'm just working through the stress, the amount of pressures that, fall on my shoulders sometimes. And, it's not even about doing these shows, really, because honestly, I love doing this. I love connecting with the people. I love hearing what they have to say. I love good, bad, and ugly, negative reviews, everything. I don't care. Because, again, the Charlotte Buffret. But it's just the drive, the motivation. Sometimes you find it hard to get up and do what you gotta do, and people are like, all you fucking do is turn on the camera and talk and act and react to video, and it takes a lot to put in the energy, to put in the time, the effort, to not have a social life, to create social media. Yeah, but that seems to be the way this works. You can't really have a social life when you're starting this journey. You may never even get one, once you've gotten to a point of no return. Has it gotten to a point of no return? I don't know. But again, I'm not looking for the people that I do know, to cheerlead me. 5, 6, 7, 8, go Bobby. I'm not expecting that for them. I'm doing this for the public. I do this for the people. And hopefully I'm going to become the people's champion. As I remind you that now Dwayne The Rock Johnson has lost 60 pounds. This man looks frail and buggy whipped. I might just swing this man around here, And again, looking to be the people's champ, I'm going to strip that title from around this man's old body, his cobbled old 60 pounds of lost weight body, from around his waistline, and expose this man's smaller waistline now, and possibly smaller Johnson now. I don't know. I've never saw it, but I'm looking to expose it. I'm sorry. Because again, a show that's looking to continue to just get bigger lately with your baby, larger baby. And, possibly, trying to get 24-inch pie tops, brother. No, I'm fucking with you. I'm just trying to get, back into the mode and turn the podcast up. Get everybody together. Become one of the cult members. Continue to, wear your robes proudly. Drink the cauldron that cools. I was going to say the wrong drink here because you can't drink Kool-Aid. Again, with all that sugar, Crystal Light. I'm sorry. And we don't have any sponsors, again. But again, if you, think about it, you should fuck with your boy. I've been plugging everybody. I've been talking about these low sugar drops with these insulin shots. So you never know when you just get a need, a Snickers or a Skittles. To pick up the glucose so that people don't think you're an asshole because you have hypoglycemia and you don't want to have a conversation right now because you're worried about the way your body's vibrating. Although I did see a video that, this Jamaican man was saying that you can't control your vibrations, if you get to a point, of that manipulation. I don't know if you can do that with diabetes, but maybe you can. And maybe it would rattle that fucking pancreas parasite the fuck up out of my body. But with that being said, hopefully you had a great time. Hopefully I didn't give you too much of a rant. But if I did, so what? Hopefully you enjoyed Unalive with the Clock Together. Maybe some of these conversations were relatable. Maybe we're unrelatable. But as I continue to tell you, even if your Ancestry.com tells you I am not your uncle, I am your uncle, so we are related. I will continue to do what I do and reminding you that from the morning, afternoon, or whenever we catch you, forget about it.